What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is Hawk Talk on Melrose, the first edition of the post-game rehash, where Tyler and I will talk a little bit about the game. And obviously, this first game, Utah State versus Iowa, 24-14. I think kind of just my initial thoughts. And Tyler, I'll let you hear, or, you can say yours. I think for me, I don't want to get too like pessimistic about things and like beat down. I think after the game yesterday, we really felt that way. Obviously, a little bit has to do with us just being hotter than hell in the stadium. And
Yeah.
obviously the last half of the game was pretty boring, pretty just kind of frustrating. But as we are here today, I think there's a lot to at least be optimistic about. I think there was things that I saw anyway that I just think if we can build on it can be good. And I think the first thing is obviously Cade McNamara. Obviously, he is a much better quarterback than what we've had. You go back to Nate Stanley, he was a decent, but that was probably the last time we've had a decent quarterback was back in the late, 2017, 2018. But even before him, CJ Beathard. And the thing with Cade, what I saw yesterday is his footwork and how he kind of reads the field. Even before the play snaps, you can just see how he's scanning the field and seeing the one-on-one matchups, things like that. That's just something we have not had for a while. And his footwork's good. His just cadence and everything is just so much better. And for a guy that really, he didn't play spring ball. He was out 2 weeks in fall camp. Like, I thought for the most part, he looked pretty dang good. Now, there was obviously some moments during that game, and we'll talk about it, that were not so good. But I think for the most part, I thought Cade had a hell of a game. And that was the first kind of optimistic thing about the offense. Obviously the first quarter was really good and it got worse, but I think we have to kind of look at it glass half full a little bit, where I think this team, like you go back to last year's South Dakota State game, we obviously didn't score a touchdown in that game. And it took until, what was it, week 5 of last year to get to 2 passing touchdowns. And we got that in the first quarter.
Yeah.
We didn't get to 24 points until week 3 of last year. We got that obviously yesterday. So there's things that like are good. Obviously, we got to build on it. And I just hope we can, because obviously the one thing that was negative yesterday was the run offense and the run blocking. The pass blocking was actually not bad. The run blocking was very, very bad yesterday. And that's very concerning. But at the same time, like I said, it's game one. Like, it's so hard to really sit here and judge. Now, after next week's game, maybe after week 3, it can be a little bit easier to kind of see where we're at. Like, yeah, this is just the way it's gonna be. But after just one game, it's just so hard to sit here and be like, wow, yeah, this is it. Like, this is what it's going to be all year, because most teams get better from week 1 to week 2. You go in the film room, you see what, okay, yeah, this is definitely not it. Or I know we were rotating offensive linemen in and out. I mean, we got to find the best 5 guys. I mean, that's the start. But I don't know, I just thought overall, I'll admit it, like going into the game, I was obviously feeling really good. Leaving the game, I didn't feel as good about where things are at. But at the same time, like, I got to take a deep breath and just know that it was game 1. And,
Yeah.
hopefully we can get better. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think I'm the same way. I don't want to come on here and be a Debbie Downer. I think we both said it, like, yeah, we have higher expectations, but we also know that this is a work in progress with a lot of the new players that we have,
Yeah.
and it's only game 1. So you take that with a grain of salt when you look at maybe the final score or some of the stats that are in this game. But I think you said it best. I think the number one thing is our quarterback is head and shoulders, literally 110% better than what we had last year.
Yep.
That is obvious by being in that stadium. The second play of the game was, what was that, a 30-some-yard touchdown pass to Seth Anderson?
Yeah.
Did we even have a 30-yard touchdown pass last year? I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't even know. So to see that early, like what we did, was a great sign. And I agree with you. I think Cade just gosh, he looks so much more comfortable and confident in the pocket and throwing the ball. And even that second touchdown pass, that was kind of like a fadeaway lob to Eric All in the end
Yep.
zone. And it just on a fourth down play. I think I saw a stat. He was 9 of 12 on third and fourth down throwing the ball, which, what did we talk about? Situational football, third down conversions, that you can't really get much better than that. The other takeaway, and you hit it, the run game. It's still not there yet.
No.
We didn't see it last year consistently. We didn't see it really at all this game. That I don't want to say is concerning yet, because like you said, it's one game. Maybe we'll change some things up and something will click, but I am a little nervous for
Yeah.
it, because this offense, we say it year in and year out, game in and game out, it goes as this run game goes, because
And you said it a couple weeks ago about that.
right. And so disappointed to see that we haven't sort of figured that out yet. I mean, I'm looking right now, like, what was it? One
I think we
second
had like
here.
88 total rushing yards or
Right.
something like that. It was,
88.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's just, I mean, it's just not going to cut it. And, for 19 carries, 63 yards for Caleb Johnson, he just couldn't get anything going all day. And there was guys in the backfield when he was getting the ball. We do toss plays, and there was whiffs by linemen that he was getting tackled for negative yards. Right. He just didn't have a great chance at running the ball that day. And for an average of 2.4 yards for the team, that's a little concerning, just because it's like, man, the competition's only going to get tougher. So I don't know. I agree with you. I don't want to overreact. I don't want to sit up here and be super negative. But there was really good moments. And I think we saw some things in the past game that I'm really excited that I think we can build off of. The run game, we got to figure it out though. Yeah, I agree.
With like the offensive line, like one thing that we were like last year, we were bad in both run blocking and pass blocking. And I thought yesterday we at least looked good in the pass protection for the most part. Obviously, I think there was maybe one sack that they had on Caden. That was when they like did like a full on blitz. And so like that's good. Like let's keep building off of that. But yes, this run blocking, and honestly, like I sit here today, it's like, I don't know, like, what is it? Like, is it just the players? Is it the zone blocking?
Is it scheme? Is it a combination? I don't know. Do we not have the players to execute the scheme, or is the players just not really that good at run blocking? I don't know.
I don't get it. I know last year, as the year went on, like we had moments where actually our run game was pretty dang good. And it's just like, I don't get it. It's like, I don't get how we go from like being like, oh, decent, because these are a lot of the same players from last year. And like, I go back to like, for example, like the Purdue game. I just remember like that game, we ran the ball so well. Caleb Johnson had like almost 200 yards rushing that day. And it's just like, it's like games like that. It's like, okay, how and why can we run the ball so effectively like that game? But then the next game, it's like complete, just horrible.
It's not even average. It's like we're not even like a running team. Like we didn't even do any sort of anything good on the run.
I want to stay on the offense for a little bit longer, and then we'll get obviously into the defense. Another thing we started the game, 2 touchdowns in a row, right? 14-0, just like that. They pumped the ball, and on our third offensive possession, it was 8 plays, 42 yards, and we were driving, and it really felt like, okay, we're literally going to score again here, 21-0.
Yeah.
And that was when it was at 4th down and 1. And I really think everything changed after that. And I sit here today, and I kept saying it to Colby yesterday. Why did we do that run? I mean, they knew exactly what we were going to do.
Did you agree with the going for it first?
I agreed for going for it. Okay. I actually told Colby before, like when we called the timeout, I actually said like, I could see them maybe just kicking a field goal here, because obviously we want to get, at that point, we're up 14-0. It's almost kind of like it's kind of like a scrimmage where like you're just wanting to get like reps in, get like a kick, field goal in. Cause that would have been a pretty, what would that have been? Like a 45, 50 yarder. So like I was actually kind of thinking that's what we were going to do, but I agreed with going for it. But I don't agree with the play call, especially after calling a timeout. You call a timeout, and that's what you come up with, where they knew, like they sold out on the run there. And it's like, we could have done anything else. And I know like Cade, with him being kind of hurt, like we didn't want to do a QB sneak, then bring Deacon Hill in and do a QB sneak with that dude. He's like
Right,
6'5", 260 pounds. You don't think he can get a yard?
right.
And you could say, well, one person, him coming in there for that one. I mean, what if it's a bad exchange with the center? Well, okay. I mean, we're up 14-0 at that point. Like if that happens, that
Yeah,
happens. But we could have done that. We could have done, maybe you could have done a pitch play if they're all coming in. Maybe you do a play action pass. You do a quick slant route with one of your receivers. Like I just didn't
or you
agree
run
with
out of
that play call
shotgun and spread them
and
out a
spread
little
them
bit.
out. Yeah. It's just like they knew, like when
That's
when when we
yeah.
trotted down the field, like I knew
Yeah,
exactly what we were gonna do.
I
Like we were
did.
gonna
We
run
saw
up
the
the
heavy
middle.
formation. Yep, I
Yep.
saw. I knew the same thing. And
And
that's the type of stuff where it's like this team almost has to overcome Brian's like play calling once in a while because
yeah,
that's on him right there.
yeah, that's a stupid play. I thought for the most part, I don't want to get too carried away. I thought Brian
Right.
called a decent game yesterday, especially the scripted plays, the first like two
Yeah.
possessions. I thought it was as good as it could be. But that play alone, like that 4th down and 1, just shows where like situationally sometimes he is just
Right.
such a bad play caller. It's like just know that in the moment, like what the defense expects and
Yeah.
do the opposite of
Maybe
what
go
the defense expects.
against the tendency almost, right?
Yes. There was another knock that I had on Brian yesterday. I felt like we did a lot of
Is that a
like
Kirk thing though too, where he's like, "Hey, we're
the
pounding it up the middle, like you
I-
get this 1 yard." See, I don't know
yeah, I don't know either. I don't know how much leeway,
influence. Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah,
Brian has and that Kirk has or whatever. Um,
yeah.
Another just knock on Brian too yesterday. I felt like we did a lot of like tight end screens and like didn't you kind of know, like especially the first
Yeah,
half? It's like, what are we doing
it
here?
was
Like
it was a
why are we doing?
little it was a little aggressive. I thought, like in terms of the same sort of like
Yep.
design that we're trying to execute. It's like, okay, it's not working that well. Like, let's move on.
Um, and then that guy that's actually pretty fast. I forgot what his name is. That receiver, Caden. He had that almost that touchdown, but we did that play like and it worked. I mean, there's 2 times it worked, but then we did it that one time and it was on the short side of the field, and like
Yeah.
that's just and it was like second
Oh,
down and like
the
4.
legend or what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep. And
yeah.
it was like
It's
second
like the
down and
sweep,
4.
right?
Yeah, sweep. I like that third time because it was like in shotgun. He came behind
And he came
and
behind him and he kind of quick turned and it looked a little different, right? It didn't
yeah,
look the same. And I think that's why it might have been a little bit more of a productive play.
yep. But the second one, this
Yeah.
was the one that got blown
No.
up. It's because we did the same exact thing maybe a
Yeah.
couple, drives before that. And so
Again,
the
they see
defense
that
was
motion, they
yeah,
know where it's going. It's the
yeah.
same design, it's the same like formation and everything. I don't
Yep. So
yeah.
so the play calling was just like I said, at times great,
Yeah. It was up and
times
down a little
not
bit.
bad. But it
Right.
wasn't like overall, like I didn't think Brian called
No,
that bad of a game.
no.
We just couldn't execute a lot too. I mean, think about this. Like someone made a good point. We would be sitting here today. Okay, so we won 24-14. And you
Right.
take away like all reality, we won 24-6 because their touchdown was against our backups. I don't think
Yes.
they score a touchdown
And
if
2 point. Yeah.
yeah. So, but you take away like Cooper DeJean, like he should have had that interception. And if he would have caught that, he
Yep.
would have taken it to the house. We should have scored at the end of the half where I don't know if you watched like highlights or the replay, but you should after we get done here.
I did.
That was such a beautiful ball by Cade McNamara, throwing it back shoulder to Nico Raganini. It went right through his hand. I didn't realize, like, obviously in the stadium, our viewpoint, it's a little bit harder to judge. So I thought maybe it was a little over his head. No, dude,
It's
literally went.
I understand it's an kind of over the head, over the shoulder catch, but that is on the money where only he can get that ball out in front of him, right in the breadbasket, and he just whiffed completely.
Yeah, as a 6-year guy, or for how long he's been here, that's a play you should make. Like that, those are the plays that we need to execute. You talk about an offense that is, just trying to build confidence. Like those are the plays. And then on that same possession, we also had Luke Lachey drop a wide open pass by Cade.
Also, I don't know what possession it was. LaShawn Williams out of the backfield, he threw the ball right to him, and
that was that same possession.
Okay, so he had an opportunity to get to the goal line before that. I think it was a linebacker met him. So we had opportunities. You're right, and that's 7 more points essentially.
So
we missed out on.
We literally could have went into half up 21-3, and we should have, because like those are drop balls that like we should have went up 21-3. Or, well, actually, probably even 28-3 if you count Cooper DeJean's interception, because if he would have caught that dude, like there was no
I
one. There
know.
was
No.
literally no one. And so like I think we walk out of the stadium feeling a lot better. Like there's just these small plays that just
Yeah.
obviously kind of out or shadow the good a little bit. I think the bad
Yeah.
just kind of shadows the good just slightly, and that's what makes it hard. I did like that sometime in the second half before Cade went out, we did do a 10-play, 68-yard scoring drive where we scored a touchdown to make
Yeah.
it 24-6. That was good to see, kind of the last, because we knew Cade was probably going to be done for the day. So we did get that last drive. And I mean, how many times last year did we go 68 yards or 70 yards? I feel like most of the time when we scored touchdowns last year, it was when we had the ball like at like the 40-yard line, thanks to our defense
Right.
getting an interception, or
Right.
thanks to special teams or something like that. So
We didn't
that
drive
was
the
good to
ball
see.
very much. No.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's so hard because it's so hard to sit here and try to, I
Yeah.
don't know, be negative about things or even be
Right.
optimistic about things, because it was one game. But I don't know. I want to stay as optimistic as possible about things, and hopefully
Yeah.
we can build on the good. And then hopefully, yeah, like you were saying with the run blocking. And I went back and watched some of the replay last night when I got home, and there were some plays, dude. And there was plays where like Caleb Johnson just didn't hit the right hole. And like those are things that like today, like
Well,
they're in film.
okay.
Like those are things that you
Right.
got to, like they're gonna show. But yeah, there were a few plays where like he had like a hole
Well,
and he
and
just went the other way.
it's funny you mentioned that because during the game, we were sitting not in the same seats, obviously, to start the game, but at halftime, I moved down next to you. The people next to you left. And I remember there was a point in the second half where even your brother Colby had said, he's like, man, just seems like Jazzy and Patterson just hits the hole harder. Like it seems like Caleb almost sometimes it looks like there's something there, but he's almost way too patient.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that hole closes up before he should have really hit it. And so, it's funny that you mentioned that you went back and saw that, because I think we actually saw that during the game a little bit too.
Like there was one play where like um there was one play where he could have, if he chose to go more inside, if he would have cut it outside, he would have probably got 10 yards.
Yeah.
And then there was another play where there was like literally like a hole and he just chose to go the other way. And like I said, that's just, that's game one, things,
Right.
and
Right.
hopefully
Yeah.
we can, as we move forward, because so I don't want to pin it entirely on the offensive line, but I
No.
mean, 95% of the reason was the offensive line, but there were moments where like
Yeah.
they, like Caleb or whoever the backup was, LaShawn or Patterson, like they just chose the wrong holes. And
Yeah.
so, but those are things that, like I said, hopefully get addressed today when they're watching film,
Right.
and hopefully we get better, because we need to get better. If we run the
Yeah.
football like we did against Iowa State, we're not winning that game. And Iowa State is a much better defense than Utah State. So it's got to improve, man. We got
That's
less than a week to improve that.
And I was just going to say, I don't want to blow it out of proportion. Like you just mentioned, it's one game. I don't want to get on here and be super negative, but I think it is a concern just because it didn't seem like it got much better as of right now in that first game compared to what we saw last year. So I think that'll be a point of emphasis clearly going into this next week. And you're right. I mean, it's got to get better. It just has to.
Let's switch to the defense for a little bit, and we'll end this pod off. But defensively, a lot of people were like disappointed yesterday. Like I wasn't that disappointed about the defense. I'll sit here and I'll fully admit, like, yes, we're not going to be, and I think we kind of talked about this. We're not going to be as elite as we were last year. I mean, last year we had probably the best linebacker to ever go through Iowa. Our secondary was just top notch. Defensive line was great. We had a first rounder on the defensive line. Like we kind of figured like it wasn't going to be as elite.
No.
I didn't think it was going to be a major drop off. And yesterday, honestly, like I don't know why people are freaking out. Like I thought for the most part,
they gave up 6 points.
Yeah, they lived up to kind of what I kind of thought they were gonna. Not only that, but I made a good point to Colby that like, yes, Utah State's not like they're not a good football team, but their offense kind of presented a unique challenge for us. The way they spread us out. Yeah. Right. And, it's a 95. I mean, it was hotter than hell there. It might have been the hottest game I've ever been to. 95 degrees. And they're an up tempo.
I can't imagine what it was on the field.
Yes, exactly.
Way hotter.
Yep. So up tempo, spread you out, no huddle. They're on the go. Like it was definitely a unique challenge for Iowa. And I thought for the most part, we did really well. I do
Yeah.
want to mention Jay Higgins, 16 total tackles. The dude's a beast. Like I
Yeah.
love Jay Higgins. Cooper DeJean was pretty quiet, but I think honestly, that's probably going to be the norm this year. I don't think many quarterbacks are going to throw Cooper's way, so I think he is going to be
Yeah.
pretty quiet. I thought Deshaun Lee, he was third in team tackles. I thought he had a great game. Obviously, we can talk about the Jamari Harris situation. He was one of them.
Yeah.
That is card gambling, which I speculated on the last
Yeah.
podcast. So thankfully, because I also speculated there was rumors on it was Quinn Schulte. Luckily, he wasn't one of them. It was just Jamari Harris. But I thought Deshaun Lee had a great day, great game. Oh, and with Jamari Harris, it sounds like he's gonna be back Western Michigan already. So that's honestly awesome.
Yeah.
So, but Nick Jackson, he was pretty quiet yesterday. That transfer from Virginia, but once again, Nick Jackson was way by the sidelines the entire time because he was covering these receivers that were so spread out. So, there really wasn't much for him to really do. So I don't know. I just thought overall, like
Xavier had a pick.
Xavier had a pick.
And he had to come out because of heat related issues. I mean, it was hot. It was really that hot. And so, and I agree. Like if our starting defense is out there the whole game, I don't think we're giving up a touchdown. We're not giving up 8 points. I can tell you that. So maybe another field goal, but I thought they played up to honestly the best level that they probably could have given all the circumstances.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would say my only concern about the defense, and once again, this is one game
tackling issue. I don't know about.
Well, yes, tackling issue.
Missed tackling that I saw, but yeah,
definitely agree with that. And once again, maybe that's just like hopefully like a week one thing, right? Because you go through fall camp, you go through practice, you're not tackling as much, right? And things like that. So hopefully that's something that can be fixed. My concern was the defensive line didn't really get that much pressure. At times they did, but like I don't know. Maybe I was expecting more, maybe because that's, we were hearing how good this defense line is, which I do think it is good. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great, but I don't know. Like it just seemed like there were times where their quarterback had a lot of time and, but also granted, and someone made a good point though. Think about how many like screen plays they did where he threw it really fast. So
there was a lot of quick passes.
Yes. It's hard to really judge.
Yeah, I agree. But there were times I think too, where you just mentioned like he sat back there and you're just kind of waiting for that moment of us collapsing on him and it didn't happen. I think Deontay Craig got a sack, if I'm not mistaken.
Joe Evans. Well, no, did Joe Evans? No, yeah, you are right. Deontay Craig did have a sack. I'm looking right here. Okay. Joe Evans, he had a play where he pressured the quarterback and smoked him, and obviously he got it off. But Brian Allen played a little bit. He was that guy that I was talking about from Kids Day, and he actually had a play there where he almost sacked too. So I thought overall pretty good. And then obviously you mentioned Xavier got hurt. Gave Cohen Entringer, the backup, some playing time in the second half. He had 4 tackles and he looked decent out there. So the one good thing about, like, for example, Jamari Harris being out, obviously it's not a good thing, but it gives guys like Deshaun Lee chance to go out there and get experience. And I don't know. I thought he played really well for his first career start. You knew that Utah State was going to pick on him because they're not going to pick on Cooper on the other side. And so I thought for the most part, I mean, yes, Lee gave up some passes, but other than that, nothing. And I think another big thing that no one really talks about, we didn't really give up a big play, like a deep ball, like remember last year in the Nebraska game where Casey Thompson threw it to, I can't even think of the wide receiver right now. And they got like a 70-yard touchdown pass.
Trey Palmer.
Like we didn't, and then I don't know if you remember last year, South Dakota State game, we almost gave up a long ball. Remember that? And thank God, because if they would have connected, we would have lost that game. Yeah. So that was one thing that like I thought was very good was we didn't get sucked in on something and they made us pay.
We kind of kept everything in front of us and kind of rallied, to the ball. And yeah, so I agree. I think that was a good sign as well.
So give me your, or before the grade, special teams, just talk briefly about special teams.
Well, I was just going to say every phase of the game, I think there's something we could work on. We got lucky. They blocked a punt and it ended up rolling forward for 30 yards. We got really lucky there.
We got really lucky.
That could have been bad, especially in that point of the game. But, special teams it was to be expected. I didn't think, Torrey did anything super crazy. He wasn't punting darts down inside the 10 by any means, but he had what, 6 punts in the game, I think, like that or something like that.
Yeah, he
So
had 6 punts.
yeah. Drew Stevens was 1 for 1 for 20 yards. I mean, there's not much to talk about besides just, they did what they were supposed to do for the most part. And besides that one blocked kick, I think, because they went like all out on it and they got it. They got a piece of it. So we were fortunate there.
Yeah, and then like their punter was really good where,
Yeah, he
obviously
did.
Cooper couldn't really do
No, there
anything.
was so much hang time on that thing that by the time he got the ball, they were there. So
Yeah. One thing about the defense, I'm just looking at stats right now with their quarterback. His average completion was 4.4 yards. So that pretty much shows you like how it
yeah,
was pretty
no,
quick. Like they were getting the
and
ball
and
out
he
really
he had
fast.
32 completions. So
Yeah.
like for 4 yards, I mean he was dumping it off. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to point that out while I was
Yep.
looking at that. So, all right, give me your grades. We won't do special teams, but just defensively and offense.
So offensively, taking everything into account, I mean, I'm gonna go C plus maybe. I would think it was right above average to average. I think with the run game, like I said, I think that's a major part of it. If you told me Caleb Johnson had 130 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns and averaged 7 yards a carry, then I'm going an A because of how much we improved, I thought, passing wise
Yeah.
from Cade. So I just didn't see it. Didn't see it, didn't happen. So I'm gonna go C plus probably. I think Cade played really well. And also really quick, not to mention he kind of got shaken up there for a moment. It was a bit of a concern, I thought, on the part of me, everyone really in the stands. He was kind of
Yeah.
moving his leg up and down. Like I was like thinking to myself, oh, here we go. Insult to injury right now, literally. So it looked like he just, I don't know, came up wrong a little bit, but he went back out there. So, he's fine, hopefully.
I think
But
here one thing with that
yeah,
though, because I guess we didn't really mention that at the beginning. I think like that injury, man, like I just don't think it's ever gonna
no,
be
I don't either.
100%. Like I think it's gonna
Not,
just kind of carry throughout the year. Like and hopefully I'm wrong. Like hopefully it does heal,
was it the
but
same leg and everything?
yeah, it's that same just kind of qual. Like I just think it's just
Okay.
gonna kind of affect him. Like, and you
Yeah.
could tell, he was pretty limited yesterday. I thought that was kind of the game plan going into yesterday was
Yeah.
we weren't gonna do much. I thought we ran out of shotgun a lot more than probably what they were maybe wanting to do, but that's a good thing, because you don't want to get K two, you're running too much. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope that I'm hoping it's not too sore. You know what I mean? Like after that game, I'm
Yeah.
hoping that, he probably might not practice a couple days this week, I would think, just because,
Yeah.
he needs time to nourish it and things like that. But
Right.
it's one of those things where like I think he's gonna play versus Iowa State. I think even if he's on even
Yeah.
if it's still hurting or sore, I think he's gonna play. But I could see them like him sitting out like the Western Michigan game, like a game like that where it's like, okay, let's get 2 weeks for him to hopefully fully heal
Yeah.
before we go to play Penn State or whatever. But
Right.
all right, carry on
Yeah.
with the grades, or if
So
you have.
I would go C plus there. I thought wide receivers, there was some drops. Obviously, we talked about it, at least 2 or 3 that we
Yeah.
mentioned. That doesn't help anything. That doesn't help Cade. That doesn't help the offense. So, like you mentioned, there was opportunity. The drops were for touchdowns. Or at least 2 of them I know of. So yeah, that brings it down a bit. But overall, I think given the circumstances, given what we saw last year, I'm pleased. Overall, especially the first 2 possessions, it couldn't have scripted it any better. So I'll go C plus there.
Yeah.
Defense, I don't know. It's hard because we did get an interception. Also, the offense didn't turn the ball over, which was obviously a good thing. No turnovers from the offense. Obviously, that makes a big difference in the game too. Defense, Xavier got a pick. Jay Higgins was a beast, obviously. Gave up some, and again, that it's hard because it's the backup defense. We were getting gashed there on that drive where they ended up scoring a touchdown, and that obviously affected their stats a lot.
Yeah.
Like it was not the stats and the score was not indicative of what the actual game was, because like I said, a lot of that came on that last possession or second to last possession. So I thought they were good. I thought I would go B plus, if I had to nitpick a little bit, it's some of the tackling. And then like you said, not as much, the defensive line didn't impact the game as much as I thought they might, especially with our depth and things like that. So I would go B plus. I think everything, every sort of position group has stuff to improve on and work on, which isn't a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing at all. That's what Sundays, the day after the game's for, is to
Yeah.
go in and look at the problems, look at what didn't go right. Sometimes it's almost better than having it just completely be the best
Look
thing ever,
beautiful. Yeah. Because
Yeah,
then you don't know what to go and game plan for the next
And
person.
Cade actually said that in the press conference. He said, he's like, it's probably a good thing that, we kind of hit some adversity yesterday, because there are things that we need to improve on. And
Yeah. What do you say?
he
He's
like,
glad it wasn't a cakewalk or something like
yeah.
that.
And he
Yeah.
said, like, we also left a lot out there. Like, and I think
Yeah.
he's right, because you go back to that fourth down play, you go back to
You're
the
right.
drop pass right before half, things
Yeah.
like that. So for me, I'm going to go like C plus C for offense as well. I think if the run game was just a little bit better, I know you said like 150 yards, 6, 7 yards per carry, that would be awesome. But even if it was like, even if we were getting like 4.5 yards per carry, I would jump that from a C to probably like a B, which
Yeah.
I thought would be really good. I think that's the only thing that's obviously holding back is the passing game, and just me thinking to myself, like, God, what it could have been if we would have converted on that fourth down, if Nico would have caught that ball, or LaShawn Williams would have caught that ball there, like things probably are looking a little bit different. We're feeling a little bit better about things. So
Yeah.
C plus C. And then defensively, yeah, I'm not going to quite give them an A minus. I think you're kind of spot on. And I think that's kind of what I was going to go with, B plus as well, because I think to get to like an A minus, I think I would have liked to see a little bit more, just like last year. I don't know. It's like hard to describe, but like last year was just so good.
It's
Like,
like you just almost felt like the other team was never going to score.
yes.
Like, I don't know how to explain it. And that's just because of how good that defense was. And I know that's so unrealistic to expect that every
Year.
But yeah, I agree.
So I'm going to go like B plus. You missed tackling. And like I said, the defensive line, to me, it was good, but like, I just think, and I think it needs to be better, obviously. And as we move forward, hopefully it improves and hopefully it gets better. I thought, for the most part, and we mentioned it, the short passing game by them didn't help things. So Jay Higgins Van's a beast. I mean, if you're talking just strictly Jay Higgins, I would say like an A plus.
Yeah.
He looked really good for his kind of first official game. I know he played a lot last year, but it just feels like he's gonna be a stud for us this year. So I'm anxious to watch Nick Jackson when we play a team that doesn't spread us out so much. I mean, I don't know if you noticed yesterday, but like they weren't just spreading us out; they were putting guys like almost to like the sidelines. I don't know if you noticed that. Like it was like complete spreading you out. So
yeah.
Not every team is going to do that. I mean, Iowa State's probably not even going to do that. So, I don't know. It's going to be curious to see. I know we're going to talk with the Iowa State game on the later episode, so I don't want to get too far into it. But obviously, Iowa State beats UNI 30-9. From someone I talked to that was at the game, just kind of said in the second half they went very vanilla like Iowa State did. Rocco,
because they were up big in the first half.
Yeah,
already.
They were. Yep.
So.
He said JJ isn't quite ready yet to be the starting quarterback. He said Rocco looked pretty good. I think he only had like 2 or 3 incompletion. So he said for the most part he looked good, but once again he's just like they didn't really do much. They were very, and I don't know if that was just their offense or if that was just something where they just figured that, or they just knew like going in like we're better than you and I. We're not going to show much. Yeah.
Right.
I saw something on Twitter where someone just said like their offensive line isn't what they were kind of expecting. And that's kind of like Iowa, right? So I don't know, man, like next week it's going into the season. I felt really good about this game. And
it always seems like that though. I swear we get closer to game week and we don't ever feel as good.
No
matter what team we have, I feel like. But I agree after what I saw against Utah State, I'm not going to sit up here and lie to you. I'm definitely more nervous for this game than previously before the season started. Yeah.
And I'm not going to give my prediction yet. Obviously we'll wait till the next game, but it's definitely, I'm probably still going to go with Iowa. Cause I still feel like, I just think overall
Iowa right now opened at a 3.5, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's down to 3 now.
Okay.
I just think
at
the end of the day, like just comparing apples to apples, like we are the more deeper, more experienced team. I mean, they have a lot of like freshmen, sophomore, you have Rocco who's starting, versus Iowa. This is going to be like his second career start. Like we should go in there and win. But obviously, all things are on the table when you're talking that game. And obviously, after seeing yesterday's performance with Iowa, at times not very good, it makes it hard to just say, yeah, we're going to go in there and beat them.
Right.
So
I will say real quick, I feel really good about, like you just mentioned, the experience that we have maybe compared to them, and especially at the quarterback position. I think that is such a key. I know he hasn't played a road game and he hasn't played a lot of games in 2 years. He's played in a lot of big games, though. A lot harder games than what we're probably playing in Saturday.
I wish it was tomorrow.
I wish it was tomorrow.
I wish today was Friday.
It'll be here before we know it. We got another pod, so something to look forward to. But no, I just think I think I don't think I think he's confident, and I love that. So,
and you're exactly right. You kind of, I didn't really think about that. But I think that's the
reason
why
last year. Yeah.
Yep. I think that's the reason why I'm still feeling decent about that game, is because we have a quarterback in Kate. Now, hopefully he can stay healthy this week, and he's obviously good to go because that's one thing with this injury. Like every week, it's going to get so annoying because you won't know. Like, okay, is he going to play? Is he going to be healthy enough to play? Right?
He'll probably be questionable every freaking week.
I mean, and it kind of sucks. But I'm going to sit here and say, like, unless he is just complete, like yesterday was just a complete, like, where it's way worse. Like, I just don't see where he's not going to go into Ames and play that game. Even if he's hurting a little bit, Cade seems like a tough dude. He seems like he's a guy that's the ultimate competitor. Like, he's going to be out there. If we didn't have Cade, like if we were playing like Labus or Deacon, I would not feel good about this game at all. I think Cade's like the only reason why I'm feeling somewhat decent. Yeah. And that's kind of like echoing what you said.
That's what it comes down to. I mean, because I just feel like that is obviously not only the most valuable position, but it's just for this team, especially like for how bad we were last year. I mean, I just feel like he just gives you that chance, man.
We're going to need
the game. I mean, in hindsight, he's really the reason we won yesterday. I mean, seriously.
We'll touch on this too on the next podcast, but I think the keys really to this next game is kind of like what we did against Utah State. Do not give up big plays, because I feel like when you're on the road at Jack Trice, it's such a loud stadium. And I think and you've been to that, you've been to a game when it's Iowa State, when they have the momentum, that place is rocking. It's loud and it's rocking. And we did a good job back in 2021 when we beat them, when they had that really good team, and kind of everyone kind of thought Iowa State was going to win. We kind of came in and we just kind of took care of business the entire game, and we did not let the crowd really get into it. And so that's like, obviously the one way you do that is like you limit the amount of like big plays, because you don't want to get the crowd into it. So we have to do that. And then for our sake, is I think we need to connect on a couple big plays. Like we need to connect on like a deep ball and things like that. So, but we'll get into it. I just hope
keep it a clean game again. No turnovers.
That's 100, especially on the road. So we'll get more into that game. That was a little teaser into the next podcast. So
we're getting pumped already, man.
Yeah. I am too. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like right after the games, you're kind of down and on to the next. And it'll be here before you know it. We're recording this on Sunday night or Sunday afternoon. So we'll have another podcast out in a couple of days, or in 4 days. So the weeks go by fast during football season, that's for sure. So
I'm pumped, man. I'm so excited. And big game obviously this next week. This game is never a game that I hate it. Like, I almost don't enjoy it, because it's almost like, man, if you lose, it's just, you hear about it from all year. And if you win, it's almost like, well, Iowa's favored. We're expected to win. So it's almost a lose-lose in a sense, but we'll dive into it.
Yes, for sure.
Wednesday night.
So, well, that'll do it for this podcast, or for this episode. Thank you guys all for listening. We'll be back here in short 4 days. And until then, have a good one and go Hawks.